It's always a bit of a weird one, like when starting a video, especially because, like, I'm not starting it in a formal way. It's not like, hi, and welcome to the Josh talking show. It's very just, oh, there's one thing that I promised I was going to do, is you might have noticed in the last couple of videos, I was flicking from that camera to that camera to that camera to that camera, not camera, screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that away. So now I'm only looking at you guys and not obsessing on what part of the frame I'm in. So if it's framed badly or I'm out of focus, then yeah, my bad. I wanted to share with you today a recent thought, realization that occurred to me that I think, it's not the first time it's occurred. It's occurred many times to me before, but it never felt the way it quite did. To give you a bit of background on this, I have always struggled with what other people think about me. In fact, I struggle with it massively, right? It's something that I really, really struggle with. And it's something that's plagued a lot of my life, other people's opinions of me. Now, I'm not the only person who has this, and it is quite a common thing, especially for people who have social anxiety. This constant overanalyzing of where you fit in this social construct, so to speak, or what people think about you. And I've always been familiar with the idea of projection, and even when I was a kid, people used to say, don't, who cares? Who cares what they think about you? And I would always say, well, I care. If it was that simple to turn it off, would you just flick a switch and just say, oh, well, I don't care anymore? You can't go from like, stop caring about what people think about you, and then go, okay, oh, look, oh, how silly, I forgot to do that. Did you just see that? Why have you done that? That's really freaked me out. When I'm talking at this camera, when I'm talking to whoever is viewing this, there is constantly a process or thing that's going on in my head that is assessing whether what you're currently thinking of me right now, right? That can be one of the most debilitating things ever, because if I'm constantly thinking about what you're thinking about me, and then making moves based on what I think you're thinking about me. So I've created an idea about myself. I want you to see the idea that I've created about myself. Now, here's the problem. You can't, because every single person is going to have their complete, unique idea about who you are as a human being. You are not one idea that you broadcast out to the world as, this is the idea and this is who I am. Every single human being will have their own idea about you. And one of the most exhausting things you can do in this life is constantly changing and shopping and molding or twisting or adapting yourself to constantly fit the idea of what other people have in your heads. Because trust me, I've been there, and it's like playing a game of Guess Who, where you've got to wear a different pair of glasses or a different this or that and the other, because you're constantly trying to fit the ideas of what other people think of you. And it's exhausting. And it doesn't work, and it really doesn't make you happy, because then you're not really honouring who you are in yourself. We are ideas. We create ideas about who we are. Just like I said, we create ideas about other people. You can't compute 360 degrees, or I certainly can't compute. I don't know if anybody else can. If you can, then let me know. But you can't see every side to every single human being all at once, because the brain power of that human beings, I believe, are infinite doorways. We are all infinitely complex. How can you process something that's completely infinitely complex? So we wrap people in ideas. That's how we manage these doorways into the infinite. I've done that thing where I'm sort of rabbit holing. I'm being open and honest with my video making process now, because as I was saying last week, I'm trying to get to a point at the moment where I can just be comfortable talking in camera, because every single moment, one moment to the next, I'll be all right, I have a flow, and then I'll stop, and then I'll overthink and overanalyze something. And so this is why sometimes, some of these videos can be informative, but also they can be quite self-reflective as well. I don't know. I literally don't know what this is, but I'm still honoring it. At least for another 97 videos. And I'm getting nervous. That's why this is happening. I'm getting nervous. Now, what's really interesting is if I think about what's happening right now, if I think about the idea that I'm trying to project onto the world right now, what is that? Why am I nervous? Why am I anxious? What am I nervous about? What am I anxious about? Because I'm projecting ideas onto you guys. I'm projecting personas and personalities, and those personalities are not nice. They're critical. They're abusive. It's just me projecting that onto whoever decides to watch this, which is me. It's my inner critic that I'm projecting through the camera. Okay, so something happened on camera there that I just wanted to quickly highlight. And it actually gives me an idea for next week's video. What you witnessed there was me effectively getting stuck in my head. This happens quite a lot. And it's like a storm of thoughts, effectively. And when I am going through this process, of trying to understand myself or trying to understand, my behavior, it can result in me getting stuck and basically hearing these screams and these very challenging words or criticisms coming from my inner critic. And the reason why I wanted to break the video, because I'm actually filming this the day after. I filmed that one yesterday, and it ended in that way. And I thought it was a bit bizarre how it ended, because at the beginning I was in a bit of a flow, and then towards the end I got stuck. The whole point of this channel is about being 100% open with, I think what's starting to become apparent is what it's kind of like to live with a mental illness, what it's like to live with PTSD, especially when it comes to making videos and actually trying to do something in life. These roadblocks come up very, very often, and I think it served its purpose in the fact that even though I was talking about projection and talking about how this aspect works, you can see how with PTSD or with a mental illness, you can have an idea at one moment and then it can fall apart quite quickly and become quite horrible. Just the whole experience can become quite horrible. But I wanted to highlight that. And if anything, I'm grateful to that experience, because I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that actually what I want to do is help people who have challenging mental illnesses. And I want to show people, for someone who lives with this every day, and I'm getting better, but it's taken a lot of time, that we shouldn't have to live pushing that stuff to the background. Because that's what I did before when I made videos. I'd have situations like that quite regularly, and I would ignore them and just focus on the work, and it burnt me out. Whereas now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to highlight them and bring awareness to them, not only for myself to recognise what I'm living through and accepting what I'm living through, which is something that I'm learning to do as part of this process, as part of making these videos, these vlogs, but also for other people. So if you've got, if you've got PTSD or a mental illness or anxiety or something like that, as a lot of human beings do, you don't feel like it has to be in the background, in the shadows, like it has been for me for such a long time. So a bit of a turn with where I wanted to take things with that, but I hope you appreciate. I think next week I'm going to talk about PTSD a little bit more. it's really hard to talk about on camera, because it becomes very real. Whenever I talk on camera, things become very real. And it's really interesting because even though I only figured out that I had PTSD or CPTSD, as it's more officially known, which is digressing. Anyway, I think it served its purpose, and next week I'm going to talk more about PTSD. I'm going to meet this thing head on because I don't want to push it to the background anymore. You know, I don't want to feel ashamed of it. So yeah,